Aaron Peters. I found your channel after hearing you on Ross and Carrie's podcast, and since then, I've been marathoning your videos. I love your work. It seems to me like people who have a tendency to blame themselves for problems they're having, people quick to find fault with themselves, or who have low self-esteem, would have trouble completing the auditing required to move up the bridge. Is this the case? Were you in the RPF for so long because you are someone who is quicker to blame yourself for things? I am an ex-fundamentalist Christian, and because I have a rather low opinion of myself, I was very susceptible to that group's message of God is perfect, you are an awful, sinful creature who needs to be saved by us. I was wondering whether Scientology preys on that same personality trait too. Well, thanks a lot, and I'm glad you're getting something out of my work. As far as your question goes, no. I think it's actually the exact opposite in many ways. Scientology and indoctrination, and in fact, a lot of destructive cult indoctrination is about breaking a person down and making themselves and their own personality and their own views on things less importance, of less magnitude to the person, right? And building up the idea that the cult leader is the one who's figured things out, is the one who understands how everything works, and getting a person to try to emulate or be that cult leader. So there's a personality shift that occurs in destructive cults, and this very much includes Scientology, where people are breaking down their personalities and trying to become more like their idea of L. Ron Hubbard. And to a great degree, David Miscavige now, too, especially within the Sea Organization. A lot of the Sea Org members really emulate and model themselves after David Miscavige. In terms of the auditing procedure, what you described is what auditing is trying to bring about, is a person's recognition that they are responsible for everything that's ever happened to them. This is a maxim in Scientology, is that you are always responsible for your own condition. Hubbard wrote a chapter about responsibility in one of the basic books of Scientology back in 1951 or 52 about responsibility, and he said that your freedom is dependent on the idea or your recognition that you are responsible, right, for everything, everywhere, no matter what. Even to some accident that happened on a road you've never driven on, in a car you've never seen. Like, you're supposed to be responsible for that, right? And Hubbard's definition of responsibility was kind of interesting, and in that it was all about being cause, being in a position of there's cause and there's effect, okay? And in Scientology, it's all about being cause. You don't want to be effect. You don't want to be at the receipt point of other people's blows or words or bad ideas about you or something. You want to be cause. You want to be the one emanating, not the one emanated at or to. You are being the source of things, then you're being responsible. This is the idea of responsibility in Scientology, or at least it has a lot to do with it. So the idea in auditing is that you have to take responsibility for the things that have happened to you. Hubbard said that Dianetics had a lot of appeal in 1950 because it was all about being a victim. You are not responsible for all the things that have happened to you. It was what was done to you, not what you did, that caused you to be in the situation that you're in. This is the polar opposite of what became Scientology. See, Hubbard said everybody loves being a victim, and and victimhood is the thing that appeals to everybody because they don't want to be responsible. They don't want to be the ones who are the source of what happened to them in their life. So this is why he said Dianetics was so popular and it was such a runaway bestseller and all that, is because it said, hey, bud, you're a victim. He said that it turns out that it should be the exact opposite. And that the whole effort of Scientology was to get people to recognize their own responsibility for all the things that have happened to them, and what they did is what's important, not what was done to them. See, there was this whole shift in attitude. And this all happened through the 1950s and really got heavy in the 60s. And of course, when Hubbard, started the Sea Organization, that was all about personal responsibility, right? And Sea Org members, and he defined Sea Org members the same way he defined OT, operating thetans, the highest levels of Scientology, which is at cause over matter, energy, space, time, life, and form. So all of this, I'm talking about all of this because this has to do with accepting responsibility, or accepting the fact that you're the one who is to blame for all the things that have happened to you. That's the way auditing works. When I did the RPF, just to directly get to your question, you can't get through the RPF if you don't find yourself being the one to blame for everything that ever happened to you, right? So it's not something that prevents you from getting through the RPF. It's the thing that you need to do to get through the RPF. And I wasn't on the RPF for an overlong period of time because I was having some trouble accepting this. I was on the RPF for an average amount of time, actually, right? It's just a long, beefy program that has all this stuff in it that's intended to break you down mentally and emotionally so that you will, end up feeling like everything bad that ever happened to you is on you, bud. And everything good that ever happened to you is because of Scientology. And, aren't you lucky that you landed here? And isn't Scientology the best thing that's ever happened to the entire world? And shouldn't everybody get this? That's the end result of the RPF. That's what it's supposed to be, So that's why I call it a re-education camp, right? So that is all part of the mental and emotional process of Scientology, and I think they've formalized it quite a bit, to quite a degree, whereas other destructive cults have the same or similar results that they're trying to get of breaking a person down, but their methods of going about doing it, non-Scientology groups, I think, are not quite as rigorous or premeditated as maybe Scientology's are.